So now we know what a least squared regression line is. Now I want to know, how do I find the equation of that line if I have data using StatCrunch? So what I want to do is I want to take some data and find the least squared regression line. And when I'm talking about data, I'm talking about a spreadsheet of data like this. So notice I've got some other stuff down here, summary statistics. We're going to come back to this in the next video, but I'm only worried about the distance and the fair data. The very first thing I need to do is to determine which one of those variables. So some people would say, well, what do you mean which one? You've got three. This is not a variable. Why is that not a variable? Those are categories. So I'm not worried about a categorical variable. I'm worried about my two quantitative variables, distance and fair. Based on those two, would I say that the fair explains the distance, or that the distance explains the fair? And to me, I would say the distance explains the fair, so distance is explanatory, fair is response, because my fair will change based on the distance that I am flying. So now that we have determined which variable is response and which is the explanatory, now I'm going to open my Unit 2 data set. I'm going to go to Stat, Regression, Simple Linear. This is the important part where I'm choosing which one is which. So I have chosen that the distance is the explanatory variable and the response variable is the fair. I'm going to go down, down, down to where it says fitted line plot. That one is automatically chosen. Typically, I will also go down to residuals versus x values and control select that so that I have just those two. And then all the way down at the bottom, I usually choose 2 columns per page. And what that's going to do is it's going to give me my 2 graphs and put them on the same screen so I don't have to keep arrowing through them. But notice what happens when I click compute. My first page gives me all of this information, and all of this information is fantastic because I have here the correct formula or correct least squared regression line equation. The only thing incorrect about the equation it gives me is that it does not put the hat over fair. So make sure that you do that. So notice the way I've written it is fair hat equals 177.21 plus 0.079 times distance. In terms of how or what to round to, just pay attention to the instructions either in my stat lab or in your assessments. It also gives me the R value, which we've talked about. It also gives me my R squared value, which we will talk about. And it clarifies up here which variable is which. Notice that StatCrunch is using dependent and independent instead of explanatory and response. So the explanatory variable is independent, which is distance, and the response is the dependent because it depends on the distance. And all of this other stuff on the first page we are not going to work with in this class, but it is obviously important for other classes. But we're just going to focus on this top output. In addition, I'm going to look at my 2 graphs. So this is my fitted line plot, and as I can see, I do have a nice line here. It's not a great linear correlation, again because of that R value that we looked at before was not very high. And again, looking at my residuals versus distance, we talked about or we will talk about what to look for here, but typically what I'm looking for is at the 0 line. I really want it to just be kind of the same above and below, not symmetric, but just a nice scatter plot. And I see that I've got maybe, some issues happening over here. So this might not be great.